Hey everybody, I see some folks are already tuned in. Thank you so much for joining us again. This is our 4th nightly concert in a row that we've done so far during this quarantine week. And I can't believe it's already the first day of spring. It's hard to believe that we made it through another Rochester winter, and it was, even though the weather was okay, it certainly had a weird twist of events right at the end, that's for sure. So we'll hope that everything goes a little better in the spring now. But we'd like to play a little springtime song for you. This is a brand new arrangement of Rodgers and Hammerstein's It Might As Well Be Spring.
Is the mic on?
Thank you. Okay. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. That was our arrangement of Rodgers and Hammerstein's You Must Believe in Spring. Or, excuse me, It Might As Well Be Spring. That's another great song about spring. You Must Believe in Spring. We're going to play that one later this week. That was It Might As Well Be Spring by Rodgers and Hammerstein. And we so appreciate you all watching tonight. And for those of you who have been watching the rest of our videos this week, we have just really appreciated your support so much. And we're so glad you've been able to tune in as you were home this week. We've been so happy to be able to share our music with you. As I'm sure you're all aware, or are slowly becoming aware, this is a very critical moment for performing musicians right now, because through no fault of our own, our entire performance calendar has pretty much just been wiped clean in one fell swoop, as music venues slowly began to close, and then restaurants closed, private events are being canceled. And this is all really indefinite right now. None of us really know when we're going to be able to perform live in public again. And really the kind of music business model as we know it is just going to change so much, even when we come out to the other side of this pandemic. And so Antonio and I are trying to stay positive and really figure out creative ways that we could continue to share our music with you and have it be sustainable for us, both musically and financially. Because of course we do this for a living, but also it's just something we need to do. We've been playing music our whole life, and it's just who we are. And if we don't have an outlet to share our music with you, then that's just really not such a great thing for us. So we're really grateful to be able to share this with you on the internet here. And we continue to share our music with you for free, no matter what. But if you feel so inclined, we would love it if you'd consider making a donation to lauradubin.com and becoming a patron of Laura Dubin Jazz. And that will just allow us to be able to continue sharing our music with you as long as possible. So there's actually a link to my website right in this video, if you look at the top of the screen there, and that will take you to the music page of my website, where you can also purchase our albums, you can download digital albums, and order physical CDs. And then if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see a new section where it says Become a Patron of Laura Dubin Jazz, and there are different suggested amounts that you can donate. You can click on any of those, but all the amounts are adjustable, so if you click on any of them and you change the quantity to whatever you desire, that's fine too, and you can make a very secure purchase that way. So we just really would appreciate your support if possible. I know this is a hard time for all of us, but again, we just would appreciate your support during this critical time, and we thank you so much for listening and watching no matter what happens. Thank you for being here. So we'd like to go to a piece that we released on an album last year, the Laura Dubin Trio Plays West Side Story. Many of you were at our Jazz Fest performance last summer, where we premiered the work and we actually released the CD. And this is one of the pieces from that album. This is America. And it's kind of a funny choice for right now. The opening lyrics of the song are, "I like to be in America," which not sure how true that is right now during this coronavirus, but nevertheless, it's a great piece of music by Leonard Bernstein. That's true. Nobody's really safe anywhere in the world, so we might as well be here, right?
Mars.
Exactly. We're going to talk about going to Mars and Saturn again tonight, like we did yesterday. So without further ado, here's our arrangement of America. Olé. That was our version of America from the great musical West Side Story. So the next composition we're going to play is an original tune that's very close to my heart. This was actually on our very first album that we released way back in 2013 called Introducing the Laura Dubin Trio. And the album was composed entirely of my own music. And this is a kind of a funny story behind it. The piece is called Mr. Jeremy's Macintosh. If any of you ever read the Beatrix Potter stories when you were a kid, my favorite one was called The Tale of Mr. Jeremy Fisher. Mr. Jeremy Fisher is a little frog who lives in a pond, and it's an English book. Beatrix Potter was a British author. And apparently the British word for a raincoat is a Macintosh. And this little frog, Mr. Jeremy Fisher, wears a pink Macintosh, which they reference repeatedly throughout the book. And I've had this little Mr. Jeremy stuffed animal since oh, you know what? Let me change the screen a little bit just so it'll stay right here. Fun technology. There we go. I'm just gonna select this one here.
He's gonna sing something.
Okay, there we go. Yeah. Woo! So this is Mr. Jeremy Fisher. Look how much I've loved him over the years. He's got no hands. He's got like one little bit of a finger here. There used to be an entire hand. So I've had him since I was probably, I don't know, 2 or 3 years old. And he used to have a little pink Macintosh, a little pink raincoat. And I lost the coat, the Macintosh, maybe when I was 5 years old or so. And I was just devastated when he lost his little pink coat. It was just the saddest thing that had ever happened to me, which in retrospect means I had quite a privileged childhood if that was one of the worst things that had happened at that moment in my life. But I always remembered that feeling of loss, being just really sad that I lost the coat. So I've had this little guy for years, and the story has a happy ending. A few years ago, maybe 7 or 8 years ago actually, my mom found this brand new Mr. Jeremy Fisher, I think on eBay. Look, he's got hands. And he came with this beautiful pink Macintosh. So I've actually had this Macintosh on the real Mr. Jeremy for the last few years. I'm going to put it back on him now. It's kind of hard to put on a coat when you have no hands. But let's see here. There we go. Do, 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 do. So he's going to sit up here with Mr. Beethoven and listen to his little piece of music. Anyway, this piece of music is called Mr. Jeremy's Macintosh, and it's all just kind of, you know, reflecting on that thing in my childhood. Oh, there he goes. How about right here in front of Beethoven? There you go. I think frogs live in water, so this is kind of hard for him to be like that. All right. We hope you enjoy this piece. There we go. All right. That was Mr. Jeremy's Macintosh, an original composition of mine about the tale of Mr. Jeremy Fisher, a great children's literary classic by Beatrix Potter. And here's little Mr. Jeremy. He's going to say goodnight now. Bye-bye. So if you're just joining us tonight, thank you so much for tuning in. As you know, we're Laura Dubin and Antonio Guerrero. Feels so funny because I always make sure to say that at the beginning of all of our live performances in public. But sometimes I forget to actually introduce ourselves online here, so I want to make sure I don't forget about that. We're still real people. So thank you so much for listening. Feel free to leave a comment and say hello. Let us know where you're listening from, whether you're in Rochester or another city or state or another country, or, as you said last night, on Mars or Pluto. We just love to hear from you and know how far our music is reaching. And if you're enjoying this video, please feel free to share on your own page too. It's a public video, so we're happy to have our music circulating around the internet. We'd like to play a really fun arrangement of a piece that, if any of you took piano lessons when you were younger, you most likely learned this at some point. This is our arrangement of Für Elise by Ludwig van Beethoven. And it's got a really funny story behind it because whenever we're getting ready to go out somewhere, you know how women are, we take a long time to get ready, you know, doing our hair and everything. And so whenever Antonio and I are getting ready to go out for a gig or somewhere and I'm, you know, doing all that in the bathroom or whatever, sometimes he'll sit down and play the piano. And he's very modest, but he's actually a great pianist as well. Oh, no. Maybe we'll get you up here someday. And so he loves to play Für Elise, and sometimes he likes to play funny stuff on purpose just to make me laugh while I'm getting ready to do something. And it's funny because I'll be brushing my teeth and I'll have to ask him to stop because I start to choke on my toothpaste from laughing. But one day, a couple of years ago, he was playing Für Elise, and just to be silly, he was playing it in different time signatures, like 5/4. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's actually a really great idea. So lo and behold, that became a real arrangement after that, and it's become one of our favorite classical jazz arrangements to play. It was released on our album Rhapsody a couple of years ago, and it's got a little bit of a Latin tinge to it. So we hope you like this, and we hope Beethoven likes it as well. He's here with us again tonight. I always think Beethoven would have been a good jazz musician. One, two, three, four. was our arrangement of Beethoven's Für Elise. And some of you have heard that at our live performances before, but if this is the first time you're hearing it, I bet you that you've never heard it like that before. So thank you so much for joining us once again. And we've got one more tune to share with you tonight, but I'd just like to take a moment to talk again a little bit, because I'm not sure how many of you have been listening from the beginning of this live stream about 30 or 40 minutes ago, whenever we started, or if some of you might just be tuning in now for the first time. So if you've already heard this, thank you for bearing with me as I say it again. And for those of you who have just joined us in the last few minutes, I would just like to take a moment to make you all aware, if you're not already, that during this time when venues are getting shut down, music venues are closing, restaurants are closing, of course, private events are all being canceled, as none of us are really allowed to gather in large groups. And what that means for us as performing musicians who actually thrive and support ourselves in all those situations, this is a really critical time for us right now. Antonio and I are really trying to stay positive and keep doing what we love, which of course is playing music. And truly, there's nothing else in the world that sustains us mentally, emotionally, physically, more than playing music. And no matter what happens, we're planning on continuing to share our music with you through this time and the rest of our lives. And we're so lucky to have this platform of the internet to be able to continue to share our music with you, no matter where you are in the world, even if you can no longer see us in a public venue for quite some time. However, if you are enjoying the music and you feel so inclined, it would really mean a lot to us if you'd consider making a donation, so we can just keep doing this for as long as we possibly can. There's a link to my website right in this video that you're watching. It should be right at the top of the page, and that will take you to the music page of my website, where you can also purchase our albums. You can get digital downloads of all our albums, and you can purchase CDs as well, although during this time it's probably easiest to get the download. And if you keep scrolling, just beneath all the albums, you'll see icons of all our album covers. You'll find a new section there that says Become a Patron of Laura Dubin Jazz, and you can make a donation of any amount there. There are some suggested amounts that you can choose from, but no matter which amount you click on, you can change the quantity to adjust it to your liking. We would so appreciate your support during this time. It really means so much to us, but no matter what, we do appreciate you spending time with us and listening to our music. It really means a lot to us, and we hope to continue doing it for as long as possible, and especially because during these really uncertain, difficult times, music and art are just more important than ever, and I think all of us are kind of just realizing how much joy they can bring during these dark times. And so I think more than ever before, it's important, if you appreciate the arts and music and want to show your support to independent musicians such as us, such as ourselves, it just really means the world to us. Thank you so much. So once again, we are Laura Dubin and Antonio Guerrero. Oh, and also, I neglected to mention, I'm doing online lessons now. I just started teaching lessons through FaceTime and Skype this week, when the studio where I teach piano lessons, called Musically Fit, closed because the schools have closed. I started moving all my private students to the online format, and it's actually working quite well. Right in here, I've got my iPad set up. Everything seems to be running like clockwork, and it turns out to be a really fun and interactive way to do lessons. So if you've ever thought about taking piano lessons, and maybe it's one of those things that you've always wanted to do and you just never got around to it, or if you know anybody else who might be interested, right now I am offering a free 15-minute demo lesson to anybody, anywhere in the world. So if that's something you might be interested in, please leave a comment below or send me a message through Facebook Messenger. I'd be happy to talk to you about how we can make that happen. So without further ado, we'd like to play our last piece, and we're going to send you out with another original composition with a funny title. This is called Guerrero, and that title comes from my favorite kind of traffic signal, which is the green left turn signal. The reason that that's my favorite kind of traffic signal is because whenever I'm at a red light and I'm trying to turn left and it finally turns green, and you just have to wait for everybody else to come toward you before you can even turn, it's just sometimes ends up being impossible. But once that green arrow comes, you can really floor it and finally go. So that's sort of what the mood of this piece is supposed to sound like. We hope you enjoy, and thank you so much for listening. Please tune in again tomorrow night. We plan on doing these every night around 8 o'clock or a little bit after 8 o'clock, between 8 and 9. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to share and like this post. Thank you. Thank you all so much for joining us out there. We'll see you back here again tomorrow night on my personal Facebook page and Laura Dubin, my Laura Dubin Jazz music page. If you have not liked that page yet, please hop on over there and do so. And again, thank you so much for your support. Have a wonderful night.